Good day, everybody. Wendy and Dave here. Thanks for hanging out with us here on Open Contact TV. You may or may not know of my other channel, Languages of Lights. For the last almost 10 years, I've been sharing my extraterrestrial journey, how I started using the sacred circuits from Sirius that brought to us by Bashar, and just finding him, finding those teachings and all of the other, not only Sasani teachers, but Abraham and so forth. And so I've been sharing for a long time on that channel my awakening process. I started speaking light languages, which sort of seemed to coincide with my awakening into wanting, I've always wanted the idea of, I've always believed and envisioned the idea of open contact with extraterrestrials, and I've always believed that they've always been here. It's not a surprise to us. And so we haven't been making a lot of videos on this channel, but we do still share all the time, and I still share pretty much daily a lot of these experiences that I have, and a lot of them have also relate to light language. But this channel, we're focusing really on that focusing on that idea of open contact, my own channeling experiences, sharing more of that. Here we are in the morning, and just an impromptu thing, because these are the things that I think on our day-to-day lives, when we talk about open contact, it seems like such a far away or a weird thing or something we can't talk about, or the disclosure, all of that. And Dave and I've shared a lot about how we were talking about, like, the protocols of first contact that were brought to us, also that idea from Bashar, and following the protocols and creating that reality. And there was the nugget this morning, creating that reality. So for the last few weeks, I've also attended some things with Lisa Royal Holt online. That has triggered a lot of things with me as well. But I've always had, and ever since I've discovered my connection to say the Sasani race, I have experienced things that I don't always talk about. And I think that's part of this year, and part of my exploration is to talk about this stuff more, just in a day-to-day open way. And a lot of what's happening to all of us is dreams. We're dreaming about, myself specifically, lately I've been dreaming a lot about extraterrestrial contact. Like, I'll wake up in the morning and say, what was I doing? Where was I? If I can't really remember the details, and as soon as I hear it, we were working on a Sasani ship. We were discussing more about, now I'm getting goosebumps. We're discussing more about the idea of not that, when or if open contact is coming, but the idea, which Dave brought up this morning, which was what prompted this video, was the idea of literally moving our consciousness to the idea of it's already done. And I know we hear this from all of the teachers, and including myself as I teach this stuff. Vision it already being done. Isn't that what we're being told by all the motivational speakers? Vision it, envision it already done. So that's where we wanted to go with this really quick. Was I woke up the last few mornings going, wow, I know I've been on a Sasani ship, or I know I've been working with them. I've been working with this idea of belief systems. How is it really that I can follow my highest joy? The formula, if you know the formula. How do I follow my highest joy moment by moment? Like having a cup of coffee, taking our dog for a walk this morning. How is it that following my highest joy and excitement every moment will literally lead us to open contact? How do we put those puzzle pieces together? And one of the things is dreaming. And because now we understand, this is the dream, this is the hologram. When we sleep, that is us interacting as the true beings that we are. And that has been happening more and more. And I'd be curious to see if it's happening more and more with any of you as well. Because if you're watching this, you are all, at least a little curious, or looking for a validation, confirmation, or someplace to talk about that you're also having these experiences, or maybe you want to have those experiences. And so that's where a little bit of my light language came in and helping me activate that. But that's the point is that even Dave made this morning, it doesn't matter how you get there. So how do you want to expand on your dream and and
So I dreamt last night about discussing the idea of disclosure, and for us, and I think when you think about the point of life, what's
our purpose?
what's our purpose? What's the point
What's
of
our
things?
place? What's the point?
And of course, as your consciousness expands, that idea expands as well. But from all the experiences that I've had and all the teachings that I've received in all kinds of various ways, it seems as though the point and purpose of everyone's life is really to be the most authentic version of themselves as possible and to share that. And a lot of people say, be your brightest light and share your light all the time, not just in moments that you're meditating, but all the time. Be your most authentic self that you can be, and that will facilitate moving the reality also collectively to the preferred reality that you wish to have. So I had a dream about talking about we were collectively with the Sasani, but not only the Sasani, Pleiadians and so forth.
Yael.
Yael.
Yeah.
The idea of disclosure, and disclosure being the path to open contact, and the discussion was really, and I want to say when I woke up I received a download about this. So that's what I want to share. The discussion was essentially we've already figured out how we want disclosure to be. And we have listened to some old Bashars where there's some discussion about that specifically. And there have been some books written about disclosure. So we've already figured out how, as a society, we want disclosure to occur where it benefits everyone. It is not a fear-based situation. But the interesting thing is the download sort of connected the dots to the idea that as we become the version of ourselves that includes disclosure already happening and being in a vibration of open contact already being now, we are in the idea of open contact. And you could use your imagination to essentially become the vibration of that and spend as much time as you can, and certainly you want to do it all the time, be in that vibration. Then what actually happens from a mechanical point of view is you move to that reality. That reality includes open contact. It includes extraterrestrials being part of your everyday life.
Elon, I'm sorry, Elon's listening in.
Mm-hmm. So, and certainly Elon. And
all of a sudden, it was like I felt him, like in my heart space, and that's how this stuff happens. Like Elon interactions. Anyway.
So yeah, look up Elon interactions on YouTube. He is also Sasani, and so there's always only now, and the past and the future is always created from the now moment to support the decision of who you are now. And Elon talks about this a lot, very succinctly.
Yes.
And so essentially the idea of disclosure is not we need disclosure, is not disclosure has to happen this way, we need the government to finally
right,
admit
we
to
need
things.
them to admit. Exactly.
None of that actually is important, because we've already figured out collectively from a higher point of view how we want disclosure to unfold. So by becoming the vibration of it already happening, by becoming the vibration of being in open contact now, with all the things that you imagine individually, how you want it to be, how you want to see aliens, extraterrestrials, Pleiadians, Sasani, whatever extraterrestrial races you're excited to see, even things like dragons and whatever fairies walking around your house. Those things, be in that vibration. And what actually happens from a physics mechanical point of view is you're creating that moment in the now, and disclosure actually has already happened
occurred
within your reality. And what does that mean, and how do we experience that? And that was part of the download. And part of it is, you think you're in woo land, pretending all these things, but actually, many of you probably don't watch the normal news. You may not, I don't know if there's even papers anymore to read, but I would say you don't read the papers.
We don't involve ourselves in conspiracy theories. Right. We don't, any of those.
So
that idea.
What actually happens is, synchronistically, you might, go out to eat somewhere, and the television's on, and the news is on, and you look up, and you see the typical news, two people sitting at a desk reading the news. And you notice, out of the corner of your eye, because you're not really that interested in watching the news, but you notice, all of a sudden, there's an extraterrestrial sitting next to the human person reading the news. And it is perfectly naturally happening.
An everyday occurrence.
Everyone is, so I'm sort of hearing, Joan says to Ectu, and now for the, Ectu, take it away on the news about the weather. So, and
it's just
as
normal.
As a more enlightened person, you look at that and say, how exciting, all this happened. And then you might want to look back, to try to see, when did this happen? When, how did this happen? And then if you want to explore those things, which you don't need to, you could just enjoy the now moment with it all happening. But if you wanted to explore the idea of when did the aliens land, and how did that happen, and what's happening now, that progression of experience then gets created in the now moment in the way that we've already sort of agreed that it would collectively. So if you talk to the guy sitting next to you and say, hey, how about that, alien landing that happened, last year, and they'll know about it. And what that also means is you've moved to a reality where the fear of all of those things is already gone. Right. There isn't any.
And as you're talking, I'm literally envisioning like going to the bank and going to the restaurant, and they're just, I say, star friends living among us, talking among us, working among us, and living among us, and however we can possibly imagine that,
So you use your imagination for those things so you can't imagine something that you are not, and you can't imagine something that isn't a reasonable possibility of how things could be. So, you might still be in a reality where you have a job and you go out to lunch with your coworkers, and one of your coworkers is extraterrestrial and they don't eat the way we eat. So, but they come to lunch anyway. And, it's sort of funny because sometimes when we're eating. So it's funny because we don't talk a lot necessarily while we're eating, and we have food in our mouth. So you're sitting and having a nice conversation with the extraterrestrial who doesn't eat, and he gets to tell us all about his, interstellar journeys while you're eating. And, that's just my imagination sharing a possibility of how things could go.
And I'm sitting here, I'm imagining us sitting at the table and we're all laughing out loud, but we're just talking telepathically to each other at the table, and then we bust out laughing.
And I'm imagining, how when you like burst out laughing while you're eating, sometimes you choke a little bit. And Benetar, the coworker, says, that's why we don't eat anymore. Because you're like choking up and trying to laugh and not have food go flying. So that's just a funny example, of course, but the idea of release the insistence of needing the disclosure to even happen and move past that. And we've already created the idea of how it happened. And it could, of course, throughout the world, which collectively we're also creating in here or
Yeah.
within, everyone's going to have the experience of open contact and disclosure in their own way. So there's
We just did.
There's an infinite possibility of how everyone is going to experience it and how everyone's going to be introduced to it. So of course, if a UFO comes and lands on the White House lawn, it could be on the news, and some people will see it on the news and be aware of it and so forth. But we're already in a reality where it has happened, so they're now just remembering their version of how it happened. But for many people, they might be, they might live in the woods and they don't get out much, and it's been winter, so they've been sort of stuck at home, and they go out to go buy seeds for the spring, and in the seed store there are aliens walking around, and that was their introduction to the idea of open contact. And so of course the ideas are infinite, and that's the wonderful thing about creating a reality, is that the more open you are, the more you release your need and insistence for things to be a certain way, the more possibilities there are for you to experience it. And also in the path of least resistance, which also means we make up time. So if you release the insistence of the belief of time,
That too.
these things could happen right now. You could literally pull over to the gas station, go get gas, and see aliens working in the gas station.
And one of the things about this whole idea of having it in our dream states is because, as Dave said, we're all going to create it in the way that we prefer it. Easy, non-confrontational, as if it's just the next natural thing, because we already know that it is. First of all, I thought just us laughing right there and feeling that and imagining that, I heard put us in the specific perfect frequency for receiving just that reality, because I got really excited and happy about that idea. But the thing is that the reason they bring this up about the dreams, or that, I mean, it was like we were going to make a video. It's been a while since we've actually done a video about this stuff. And I told Dave, I said, we talk about this stuff every morning when we wake up from our dreams, and it's perfectly real to us and acceptable, and it has become part of the norm of our life. So that's why I was like, we're drinking coffee, we're talking about, I said, this is it. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about making a video, just picking up the camera, turning it on, following our highest joy and excitement, and perhaps inspiring others to do that as well. But the point was, a lot of us have set it up for ourselves that that's how we want the introduction in our dream state, where it can become, where we get to release all of those negative, I want to say negative belief systems or limiting belief systems. They're just belief systems. That's it. I don't even.
Well, they're contradictory to
exactly. That's a much better way to put it. Contradictory to our preference. It's not a bad and a good thing. So many of us especially this year, and I'm thinking about what the Sasani said about that, about this being the door, to the beginning of open contact. And those of us that are excited about that are getting more and more urges and inspirations to just share this stuff. And in a normal way, you wake up in the morning, I'm having my coffee, and guess what happened to me last night? And many of us wanted that contact this way, because it's an easy way for us to accept it, normalize it, wake up in the morning on then, but to realize also at the same time, there is no time, everything's now, and this is actually the dream.
And in a sense, we feel like it's our job to introduce some of these ideas.
Well, it is. We
that
are open contact specialists.
that
We know it.
that many of you watching have not really thought of in that way, and it's our job to share these ideas with you, so you could now start thinking of things in a little bigger picture, a little more expanded version of your reality. And I'm also reminded that when you're thinking of, imagining these scenarios, of course, there are other things that you want to include in that vibration, such as world peace and financial freedom, and all the things that would naturally go along with open contact, equality among all beings.
All beings.
That goes hand in
Yes,
hand
that goes.
with the idea of open contact. But be as a conscious creators, which you're all doing 100% of the time, you are creating your own reality every moment and recreating it every moment. The gift of it all is you can include all of the things that you want, and you don't need to have you should not have insistence on any of these things showing up, but they will. By being in that vibration, they will. And that's how it works. And we've said this before, and certainly many times on Wendy's other YouTube channel, Languages of Lights. The idea of being in that vibration,
Yes,
facilitates the whole package. It's always a complete kit. And the formula is really so simple that when you're not sure how to create your own reality, when you're not sure how to get to where you want to go, you could always just do the most fun thing in the moment and follow your highest joy and excitement, and that will take you to the place you want to go. And you might not always know where that place is, and you may not always know how you're going to get there, and it may look like you're going the long way around, but it is always it's essentially part of the law of attraction. You are going to go in the path of least resistance for you, and sometimes that is bypassing negative beliefs that you have, or contradictory beliefs that you have to get to where you want to go. You might see something that you don't like, and don't be distracted by that and go down the rabbit hole of looking into that, because that's not the path of least resistance. Sometimes you'll take the detour, so you don't need to even address those things, and it's not a shortcut, it's a detour. So literally, you're not shortcutting the process.
No,
You're taking a detour, but it's actually
the faster
fastest
way to
way
get
to do it.
there.
So,
And I think a lot of you, if you're tuning in here, already understand these principles. I've known since the moment I woke up that this was what I was and what I was wanting to do. And I don't want to say supposed to, because I think a lot of us, the humans, fall into that. What am I supposed to do? That's what you're supposed to do. Follow your highest joy and excitement. And even this morning, we took the dog for a walk, a different direction. Just something that she wasn't used to. And it's like the same thing. Just doing that prompted also this moment, this excitement for us. And we're having the conversation after we're taking the dog for a walk, having our coffee, and all of a sudden it's like, Dave, I'm turning on the camera. We're going to talk about this right now. So that's following our highest joy and excitement as far as we can take it. And we have no insistence on where this video will go or what's going to happen next, or anything beyond that. This is our joy. And I hope that, and even that, when I start to say things like I hope, that implies doubt. And I just know that if we're doing it, somebody needs to see it. Just one person, someone, needs to see it, because you're the other side of our coin. You're the other side of our happiness circuit. Yeah.
So thanks for
Mwah!
hanging out and joining us. And if you're interested in these kinds of videos, if you're interested in these types of discussions, let us know. We have access to a Zoom room. We have access to, we could do webinars online.
Talk about these experiences if you guys are interested.
If you want to participate, let us know. Let us know if you prefer it to be private, as opposed to, you know, a group of us
live
privately,
broadcast.
as opposed to a
because we
YouTube
like
live
doing
private.
both.
Yeah, so you have to be the authentic you by sharing your feelings of excitement with us. And this is your opportunity to join us in the idea of open contact and all the things that go along with that. So thank you.
And maybe it'll inspire someone else. And remember too that when we inspire somebody, we're raising each other's vibration. So Nyala kitia savashono, sivismasi asokoshena tilevizmashono kotia legenda sabasala. I just can't help it. That's a little light language, and I do feel a lot of our star families broadcasting in that little message. So
Thank you.
thanks,
and
everybody.
We'll see you soon.
Till you next time.